guys, welcome to the channel. This is Yvonne from Ginger Chick Rehab. Thank you so much for popping on and checking out what I am up to today. So in today's video, I am taking some of the thrifted finds, the secondhand finds that I found when I was out and about at thrift stores and garage sales and estate sales, and I am making them over for you all and sharing how to get them to be something a little bit different than they were, fixing them up and making them into new, beautiful home decor pieces. I have really good luck reselling my version of enamelware. Now this is already an enamelware, but it has sunflowers on it. And I actually had a canister set that I made over just recently with these same sunflowers that I tried to sell without making it over, and it never sold, and it sold quickly when I made them over. So to protect the inside of this, which is already white and is in wonderful condition, I'm just going to masking tape off that inside. There's no sense of wasting paint and trying to paint it the inside, but I need to protect it so it doesn't get any overspray. So I'm just masking taping that off, just making a nice tight package, sealing that in. So to get the enamelware look, I usually go for the Farm Implements paint by Rust-Oleum, but right now I must have bought it all because anywhere I looked in my area, they were out. So I'm testing out this same Rust-Oleum brand, but it is enamel paint. So I want it to be that glossy white, just like the original enamelware is. So we'll just test this out because when I do the Farm Implement paint, I only have to do one coat and it will cover those sunflowers up. So we'll see how this goes. So with one coat, I don't want to put so much on that it runs and it drips. So it's best to go back if you can and apply a second coat. And yep, I still see the sunflower seed on the bottom, see a remnants of those sunflowers. So the recommended is 15 minutes in between, but no, I'm not going to trust that because I don't want my paint to crackle. So I did wait a couple hours in between, if not overnight, before, especially on metals, spraying it again. And I will say that it matches up with that inside really well. Now the inside may be a tad bit more glossy than the outside, but it still has that nice gloss. Now that Farm Implement paint would have matched up perfectly. My final step on this piece is to give it that black rim of that enamelware look. So I just have a makeup sponge that I get at the Dollar Tree store. Try to get the thicker one. There's two different ones sometimes they get in, and I really like the more dense one. So I'm just dipping it in, and I have some Farm Implement paint in the gallon container that we used in our sprayer for outdoor furniture. Absolutely love it. So I'm just very gingerly, same thing. I rather apply a second coat than try to get too much on. Now I picked this beautiful cross up. It is metal, it is super heavy. If you cannot tell, it has a really bad spray paint job on it. So it definitely, you can see, yeah, it needed a few more coats. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off with my primer, my base color of the Rust-Oleum Paint and Primer in 1 in the flat black to cover this entire thing up first. Now I'm moving on to give this beautiful piece some age. So yes, I do have some school glue. So what I'm going to be doing is giving it a crackle effect to give it that beautiful aged effect. So my primer color, my underneath color that is black, has completely dried. And so I'm just brushing on a generous amount, getting it onto all those crevices of this cross. after I have all the glue applied, I am not waiting any time to just use my sprayer to put on some Kills paint and primer. This is just a regular plain paint to make that beautiful crackle effect. And I've been asked a lot about using chalk paint, but I think because you have glue and the chalk paint is a water base, I don't think you're going to get those beautiful crackles. But that's all I needed to do to this beautiful piece. Now I have these two matching candlesticks, and the top of them are metal, the bottom is wood. It kind of has a distressing going on, but it almost looks like a bad paint job. But I like some of that aged patina underneath, so I'm going to do the Vaseline trick. So what I'm going to do is take a paintbrush, dip it into the Vaseline, and where it has that detailed areas, I'm just going to protect that area from the paint sticking using Vaseline. After getting Vaseline in all the areas I don't want the paint to stick, I'm using that same Kills paint primer in my sprayer to get these sprayed up. And yes, I know the very bottom of these were metal too, but in the middle is actually wood. So I'm going to put a generous coat on. I am going to have to flip these over because it's just not an angle. You can get these in one coat. And now that my paint is dry, it's a pretty easy, just take a washcloth. I usually have a washcloth and a bucket of water and just wipe it off. And with it being a regular paint that Kills paint and primer, I'm not taking any of the paint off. I'm just taking the paint off where the Vaseline was put, and it'll still leave all those beautiful aged spots. But now I want to add a little bit more detail to that metal top. So these are a coaster set that Hobby Lobby sells, and they're over that price tag in the wooden items that actually you can get them 40% off when they're on sale. So it's a great investment, and a lot of times they fit candlesticks perfectly. See how that fits? But they are raw wood, so you do need to give them a light sanding so that they are not rough. So I'm sanding them before gluing them onto this metal top. Now, I thought I was going to leave them the natural color, but after putting them on and seeing them with the distressed edges, I thought, I think they need a little bit of antiquing wax to give them a little bit more color. So, yep, I'm just going to go ahead and wipe some antiquing wax, and I'm actually using a wet wipe to apply it. That waters down that antiquing wax just a little bit more, so that way that I don't actually get them too dark. I can always do a second coat to darken it up, but I didn't want them to be so dark that that's the main focus of what you see. So wiping it on with the wet wipe and then going ahead and wiping off any extra. And then now I can get these glued on, so I just didn't worry about coloring the bottom of it. I didn't want that to be wet. So I'm using the Titebond Quick and Thick and applying a generous amount, trying to make sure that I'm getting it where I think the wood is going to touch, and then putting it onto that metal and then flipping it upside down and walking away and letting the glue bond with the metal. Next up is this candelabra. I believe it's a home interiors, and I've actually made over these and sold these several times, so I never hesitate to pick it up. So we're going to be doing that same thing. It already has some black, it already has some brown, even though it doesn't have any distressing. I'm going to do that same thing. I'm just going to hit or miss, kind of take areas that I think would be wore off with time and put a little bit of that Vaseline here and there. Now, I'm sure a lot of people would be like, ah, that frame, look at the brokenness, it's MDF board, you know, it's, I don't know. But when I look at an old frame and it has detail, I don't care about the brokenness at all. I am super excited that it has brokenness. It just definitely gives it that aged look. But first off, I'm going to start by taking off the hardware that is left on because it's definitely a little bit on the wonky side. I blew this off with the air compressor. I am thinking that I got this at an estate sale. I'm thinking. Sometimes they all kind of run into each other where you get items. But yes, I'm doing my best to get it cleaned off. Sometimes when it has that detail area, and because it is a press board, I don't want to immerse it in water, which will cause it to swell. So I'm just going to do my best to get it as cleaned off as I can. Now I'm going to go ahead and do a base coat, primer coat of the Rust-Oleum paint and primer in one in the flat black. This is going to hopefully seal in those MDF areas that are exposed, along with giving me a undercoat of black. And because I had those exposed areas of MDF, I'm going to go ahead and spray some polyacrylic. I really want to make sure that that is sealed, that that doesn't get wet at any point of its life and swells even more and makes it more obvious. So I want to give this frame the same crackle effect like I did that cross. It just pops those details, gives it a wonderful age look with really minimal work. So you just put a nice coat of just school glue, Dollar Tree, Elmer's, whatever you want. Make sure that you really get it into those details. I really don't wait any time, especially when I have a smaller frame and smaller details, to then, after I get it all applied, take it to my sprayer, or you can brush it on also, and get that white paint over it so it starts to crackle and mix with that glue. So now we need to put a backing on this, and it doesn't have the, I've been having a canvas in me, so I have that detailed area where you can insert pallet wood. So actually I'm just going to go, I don't have any beadboard on hand, I'm just going to take a regular old piece of, yeah, some plywood and add it to the back. I don't want it to look new, so I'm just adding some antiquing wax and getting that into that very dry pine. Now Chris cut the board down to side after I got it all stained up with Waverly antiquing wax, and so now he's just laying a bead of Titebond glue so we have a good wood to wood or wood to press board bond, and then he'll put some brad nails in to make sure that this piece of wood is gooded on there. Now to add something to this, I actually, by mistake, ordered the set of angel wings off of Amazon, and I used them on another project and it sold really fast, and so why not order a couple more? But I'm not really a fan of the color because it doesn't really pop on the way that I paint things, so I'm going to go ahead and get this painted up black. Since this will be its finished color without some detail added, I seal it in with some polyacrylic. So now that wood just still looks a little bit too new to me. It just doesn't match the age of the frame. I'm not sure that I'm liking the black of the angel wings, but I'm going to start off with dry brushing some white paint onto this plywood. So I have to go in very gingerly because there's no texture. This board is completely flat, so just minimum paint on my paintbrush and just ever so slightly letting it hit the board. I'm just looking for really a lot more texture with this board, and that white dry brush technique just was not doing it. So I know this is a little scary. So now I'm going back in with some black paint paint and just kind of hitting here and there. And then I actually went in with some antiquing wax also, and I'm just fading it in. I just want to give a lot more age to this board. So I'm just mixing the three between the white, the black, and the antiquing wax to give it some more age, just more interest in adding it in with that beautiful frame. To take care of the angel wings being so black, I'm just going to use some gilding wax in the silver with a stencil brush very gingerly, just like the dry brush, and just let it hit the tips of all those detail areas of these beautiful wings to tone down in them being so very black. And the gilding wax just seemed to kind of just fade away into the black paint. So now I'm going in with some of the rub and buff and the silver and just ever so slightly just accentuating the tips. If I've said it once, I've said it 100 times. Just keep doing a project until you absolutely love it. And now I'm thinking that this is all tying in together. So what I'm doing here is my main focus is the angel wings. So when I'm doing my fading on my board behind, I'm gearing it towards so it kind of looks like the angel wings are lighted from behind with the white paint and shadowing in from the corners. Now to attach the angel wings, they actually have a little hanger system that I could have put something in, but it would have went all the way through the wood. But this is light enough. These angel wings are light enough. I think just some hot glue behind it on the little tips. Hold it down nice and tight while the hot glue is drying, and it should be good to go. Finish this project up, I'm going to go ahead and add some eyelet hooks and a 17 gauge wire, because with that wood, though the rest of it is not heavy, the piece of wood is heavy, so I want to make sure that I have it weight appropriate to hang this from. And after I get my wire on, I always give it a nice tug. I want to make sure that those screws are in there nice and tight so that there's no way that it's going to come off. We're going to finish this video up with one more frame, and the angel wings and crackled paint frames, I tell y'all, they have been selling really well for me. So yes, I picked this one up at a secondhand store for $5, and you can see, unfortunately, a lot of the detail area has gone bye-bye, but it's an absolutely gorgeous frame, a beautiful size. So this is what I'm talking about when I said these are those frames that probably had canvases in them or something other kind of artwork. So I never usually buy the artwork, I just buy the frames, but I need to tap out this intersection so we're able to put some wood behind it. If I have an area that we can countersink some wood is really what I like to do. So yep, I'm going to go ahead and try to get this cleaned up the best that I can. And this probably had some type of a chalk paint on it because yes, it's coming off on my wet wipe that I'm wiping this off. But yes, I know there's minimal of that detail area, but it's funny because that's the look I think a lot of people are trying to go for when they're doing DIYs, is to make something look old. So if I can pick up a $5 frame that looks a lot worse for wear, I love that perfectly imperfect of it all. And now that my paint is dry, Chris is going to go ahead and cut some pallet wood to fit. That's why I said it's nice to have where it's inset, because pallet wood would be a lot to try to fit over the back of the whole frame. So if you can inset it and lay it into these frames, it's a lot easier. And I love pallet wood. I love the imperfections of all the pallet wood, the nail holes, the staple holes, the dirt marks, everything about pallet wood. And I'm sure you could do the same thing with like old dock boards or old fencing pieces. It's just the same concept. So we just have access to pallet wood since Chris works at a pallet shop. And no, he does not get it for free. The only bonus is it's already disassembled and he doesn't have to take the pallets apart. But now that he has it dry fitted, he's going to go ahead and put some Titebond glue and then brad nail these into place. Another item that has been selling really well for me is flags. So putting these old frames, giving them the crackle effect, putting wood behind them. I have not passed up a flag when I see one. There's a lot at the thrift stores. There's a lot at garage sales, estate sales, always, it seems like. So I always like to pick these up, and when I find a frame and that I can put it in there, I will, because right now I don't have any in my booth. It's been, as soon as I put one in, it sells. So I just always like to share that tidbit with you all if you are resellers. And I'm sure if you wanted to age the flag a little bit more, you could do the coffee stain, tea stain dye. But I like the white of this with the white of my frame. I think the wood is beautiful. It just accentuates the flag beautifully. So I'm just going to make sure that I'm centered. And all I need, because this is such a lightweight flag, is just a little bit of hot glue here or there in the corners to hold it down. And I do mean a little. I don't want it squishing through. I don't want to put so much hot glue on that it comes through the fabric and you can see where you've glued it. So just a minute amount is all it's going to take. So I like to make the back of my hangings just as pretty as the front. So I'm going in with some contractor's paper, which is a paper bag type of paper, but it is a nice thick paper. Even though I ripped this piece and I was from when I pulled it off the roll itself, so I ended up having to replace it. But you can either cut the edges to make them nice and flush or sand them with some sandpaper, which is what I had to do on my second round. I put it out a little bit further and that seemed to work, along with the same thing on the hanging system with those eyelets and a 17 gauged wire, and gave it a nice tug to make sure that it's nice and secure. So thank you so much for watching today's video, and what did you think? I just love taking items that were no longer wanted and making them into something new and giving them a second chance out there to live on as beautiful home decor. Thanks again for watching, guys, and as always, give me a quick comment. Have I inspired you in any way to look at secondhand finds in a new way? And also, which one of the items that I made over today were your favorites? So again, thanks for watching, guys, and we will see you next time, and you can see what we're up to. Bye!